Welcome to Season 3 of DTBY's Community Podcast, hosted by the CYC.
We are a movement dedicated to inspiring, mentoring, and building the leadership qualities of tomorrow's leaders.
This season, we are connecting youth to professionals, mentors, and community leaders who possess specialized knowledge and experience in areas relevant to youth resilience and safety. By leveraging the expertise of these individuals, we hope to empower youth with information and insights that are vital for their well-being and security.
Before we introduce this episode's guest, we would first like to offer a land acknowledgement.
Although this gathering is virtual, we recognize that DTBY convenes on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of many nations, including the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat peoples, also serving as home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples.
At the Dare to Be Youth charity, we are proud to promote the spirit of helping, sharing, and caring for our neighbors without the expectation that has been exemplified by each of these nations as the first peoples of this land for thousands of years. And we wish to acknowledge our gratitude for the ongoing opportunity to live, work, and build community on this land.
It is our collective responsibility to care for each other, to care for these lands. And it is past time to turn reflection into action. We challenge ourselves and everyone here today to commit to one tangible next step to move this work forward.
Welcome back to Dare to Be You's Ask the Expert podcast. My name is Alexa, and today I'm being joined with my co-host, Michaela. On behalf of Dare to Be You, it is our pleasure to welcome Layne to the 5th episode of this series. An expert at many things, Layne is the creator of the Impact Workshop, a keynote speaker, fundraising auctioneer, and an ambassador for PFLAG Canada. Thank you so much for joining today, Layne.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm so excited to chat.
Of course. So to start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I think you just pretty much covered it. I think most of Canada and those who are in the charitable sector know me as Layne the Auctionista. I'm a charity auctioneer. I help organizations raise money. I've been doing this a long time, about 15 years, and I've raised close to $50 million for charities in Canada. So I feel very proud about that. I've met some incredible humans along the way and worked with some wonderful charities, many charities. I'm also a keynote speaker, as you mentioned, and I talk a lot about my experience as a non-binary individual. I talk about mental health, entrepreneurship, all of those great things. And and I think what I'm very proud of also is our DEIB workshop, which is Impact. That's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So training work teams on how to foster inclusive, diverse workplaces, help build empathy and more kindness in the world. That's what it's about for me. That's what I live for.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like you're doing amazing work. And the second question was to ask about your impact workshop, but you threw it all in there. So
there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I guess if you're comfortable sharing, could you share a little more insights into your personal journey and your experiences as a queer person?
Well, if we had a half a day, I could do a master class. I am 61 years old, and I'm a senior citizen, and so I know decent skin too, right? I knew at a very, very early age that I was different. I was, born in the 60s. During the 60s and during the 70s, when I was a teenager, you just didn't talk about it. There were no words to describe how you were feeling. I know that in the 70s down in California, and, there was lots happening, but, I grew up in Hamilton. Those words were not used. I didn't even know what I was feeling I didn't have any representation. You know, Snoopy wasn't gay. The Flintstones weren't gay. There was no media representation when I was a youth. I thought there was something terribly wrong with me. I couldn't understand it. I had nobody to talk to, so I just hid it. I simply hid it. And I just followed along with societal expectations that you are a female and you like boys and you marry a boy and you have children. But eventually, you know, I couldn't manage it anymore internally. There had to come a time where I just had to finally kind of come out and say, this is who I am, because I'm dying inside. I'm dying inside. And I did that as a kind of a late bloomer. My mom died when she was 62. I was 40 at the time. And I was partnered with Sue, who is my wife now. And the night that my mom died, we went back to my parents' place, my sister, my brother-in-law, and myself. It was my dad. And, you know, Sue wasn't there because I was hiding it all. I was keeping it in the closet. But you know, my sister said, I think Sue should be here. And I said, what do you mean she should be here? She's just a friend of mine. We just go to movies and we go out for dinner and we hang out and do laundry together. We're just a friend, just a friend, just a friend. And she said, Layne, I've known all my life that you're gay, you know, and I see and feel the relationship that you and Sue have. And I said, but Daddy doesn't know. And she goes, let me talk to Daddy. Now, the thing is that you never want somebody, you want to come out in your own time, right? On your terms. And with who. But I just felt very strongly in the moment that that was my time. So my sister went and talked to my dad. And she comes out from the den and she says to me, Daddy wants to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, geez, here it comes. It's going to be rough in there. So I go in and I sit down and he says to me, he said, you know, I'm just really disappointed. And I said, okay. And he said, I'm just so disappointed that you felt that you could never come to Mommy and I and tell us and share, because we love you so much. And Sue is an amazing person. This changes nothing other than now we've got a new family member. So call her up and get her here. And that, I have a little tears in my eyes right now. You can probably see my eyes are a little weepy. It was a huge moment. And from that moment on, when I realized that my family loved me, this sense of freedom washed over me. And that's how I finally started living my truth.
That's so beautiful, Layne. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing that, definitely. And it's nice to hear that your family had a good response to it, right? Because I know not everybody in the community gets that same acceptance once they come out to their family. And also just it being a different time completely altogether, like you were saying, when you were growing up, like I bet most people did not know someone that was queer, or like even you didn't even see it in the media like you do now. So it's great that you had your family support. And kind of, so from, I guess, hiding yourself for so long, how has that like shaped your commitment to supporting people in the community now?
Well, it has completely shaped it, because not only did I come out with the work that I was doing and still do as a charity auctioneer, I have successfully crushed the stereotype of what an entrepreneur can be in this country, of what an auctioneer can be. And so, you know, I think that, you know, sharing my journey of authenticity and not wavering from who I am, and achieving and finding my greatness, not just through breaking the stereotype and finding this thing that I can do very, very well, but authentically being true to myself and never wavering around that has certainly given me a voice and a platform to share that anything is possible. Now, I do want to say I am a victim of daily DM bullying, discrimination. I am still receiving microaggressions every day, whether it's in public, in a gala space, behind the scenes. I do experience that on a daily basis, and it's tough and it's not easy because it does affect your mental health. But when you surround yourself with allies really allowed me to be who I truly am. And you need to surround yourself with those folks because they will hold you up, they will lift you up, they will have your back, they will speak out to injustices, they will do all of those things.
Mhm. That's great that you have people in your life that can stick up for you like that. And I'm sure like you definitely do your part to bring representation to other people in the community, because you just being yourself authentically is really inspiring just for anybody to just be who you are, not care what other people say. And yeah, you're definitely an inspiration for
Well, thank you.
not just people in the community, but everyone, for just being yourself unapologetically. I think that's something everyone can learn from people who are openly queer and just themselves to the fullest degree.
Right. And it didn't happen overnight, Michaela. It's a journey. It's a process. It's so, that nucleus of my family that accepted me. I actually, I critically thought about who will I share with next? And somebody had said, sharing it, just look at it like a tree trunk. You're going to start in the middle, and then you're going to go, you found your safety ring first, and then you're going to fan out to the next ring. And who are those folks in your life that you feel like they'll be like, Layne, this changes nothing. We love you. Of course. This is great. Now Sue's here, which is even better. And just, it's a journey, and it keeps, I don't do that anymore. I don't have to share. I don't, but in those early days, it was like you want to create that, like you said, that safety net of allies that are going to be there for you, that are going to pick you up in those really tough moments when you come home after a very tough day, when, you've been misgendered or thrown out of a bathroom, which happens to me all the time. Every airport I go into, it's the whispers, the looks. It's tough. So you need those folks around you that you can just unload and vent those feelings and process with someone, right?
For sure.
100%. And thank you so much for sharing. And I guess that being said, what do you think are the most common misconceptions from your experience of the 2SL LGBTQIA plus community?
Yeah, well, I think so. I've been thinking about this, and I think that one of the top things for me is that non-heteronormative identities or being queer, that it's some kind of a choice. It's like Layne, did you wake up one day at age 40 and decide you're non-binary? No, I didn't. I've always been this way. It's me. It's not something that I cultivated. It's not something that I created. It is part of my human DNA. It's my fabric. It's who I am. So I think that is a misconception. I think another big misconception is that children raised by 2S LGBTQ2 plus parents will inevitably face negative outcomes. That's a misconception. I have Sue and I have two daughters. They have two moms, and it's never been an issue. And it's like anything, if my daughters were to meet somebody or have a conversation, and the fact is that they have two moms. If somebody said, started going down the discrimination road, well, that would That's why that would be the end of that conversation. And there would be no friendship there, because how can there be? And I also think the other big misconception is that all blanket statement, all 2S LGBTQ2 plus folks experience the same struggles. We don't. You know, there is so much intersectionality, and we don't. Right? Some struggles are very unique for individuals. Right? So, yeah, that'd be my answer to that question.
And that's awesome. And how do you suggest we go about working to overcome these challenges, especially when we come across certain individuals who may be a part of this community? Is it through certain experiences? Do we have to have an open mind? I guess that's sort of the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, you know, I always say, you know, supporting anyone is around creating safe space for them. I don't care who you are, right? Anyone. I mean, that's the ultimate support is creating safe spaces. I think it's also, you know, that falls into folks being able to fully express themselves, and feeling safe to do so. You know, I think policy and programs to promote inclusivity and acceptance are really important, whether that's happening in, you know, schools, communities, workplaces. I think you know, those policies have to stand, they have to be in place, because, you know, bullying and discrimination, it has to stop. And we know that bullying and discrimination, you know, with 2S LGBTQ2 plus youth, this youth demographic has a high risk of experiencing bullying, of course. And, you know, that has major consequences on their mental health, their academic performance, and just their total sense of safety.
So, like you said, it's an intersectionality of a lot of different things going on. But
That's right.
when you were talking, I did think about how you did mention how when you were younger, there was no support systems to sort of look back on. And I'm sure a younger version of yourself is looking back or would love someone like you to be able to fall back on. So the work that you're doing is amazing. Thank you for being that person that you wish your younger self was.
Yes, you're hearing me loud and clear. Yes. You know, my focus in this last portion of my life, like I'm a senior and I got lots to say. I've got lots of wisdom. And, you know, my focus is to, you know, push and move the dial on gender equity, gender discrimination, bullying. You know, we have got to come to a place in this world where we celebrate our differences. And we don't even see those differences, right? Because we're all human. We all want to belong to this big blue marble. We want to belong with family. We want to have, you know, belong with friends, belong in the community. And like, you know, as you were saying, you know, we think about the intersectionality, you know, people of color, disabled individuals, immigrants, religious minorities. I'm talking all of us. And, you know, looking at our diversity DNA, not only am I a queer kid, that a lot of the bullying that came my way as a youth was because I'm the child of immigrants. I didn't eat the same food. I didn't take the same food to lunch, to school. It looked different. My grandfather who walked me to school didn't speak English. So you then, you know, we start looking at all of that diversity DNA within ourselves, all those differences. You know, we just need to just let that go and just celebrate who we are and the beautiful experiences that our diversity brings to other humans as well.
For sure. And it definitely creates a safe space, like you said, and being in Canada, looking to be able to live here in a multicultural country, like we should embrace these differences for sure. But thank you.
And then kind of going back to your point on bullying, specifically in schools, obviously anyone who's like a little different growing up in elementary school like sticks out, right? And people tend to pick on people they perceive as different from them or strange to them because unfortunately we live in a society where conforming has unfortunately been the norm. But like you said, like differences is what makes our community beautiful. It's what makes it's what
It's the tapestry.
yeah.
It's our tapestry of community, right? I mean, think of a think of a quilt with all these different colors and intersections of colors. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, right? And sorry, I interjected there, so carry on. Sorry, I'm a
No,
little.
no,
I got. You know what? Layne also has a little bit of squirrel brain. Just not gonna lie. It just like whoop, a thought comes in, it's got to come out. Sorry about that, Michaela. I hope I didn't break. I hope I didn't break your vibe.
no, it was a great metaphor, honestly. But I guess like my question is, do you think bullying is the most urgent issue facing queer youth today, or do you think there's other issues too, or do you think it all kind of stems from that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am going to say bullying because the thing is that bullying slash harassment, it's happening in schools face to face. It's happening in our communities. It's happening in online spaces, as we know, and I know because I'm subject to that. And I think I mentioned earlier, I mean, bullying, the effect of that, and how that affects our mental health. So I think I mentioned, affects our youth's academic performance, sense of safety, but I want to expand on that a little bit more. When I am the recipient of microaggressions, cumulative microaggressions, so bullying or discrimination of one sort or the other, when that starts to rise and accumulates, then I start experiencing internalizing feelings of imposter syndrome. And let me explain what that means. Even though I am touted as Canada's #1 fundraising auctioneer, I've raised millions of dollars. People see me on stage, performing, doing the thing. There are even times, Michaela and Alexa, that sometimes I think, am I doing a good job up there? Am I skilled at this? It starts to affect your sense of confidence. It starts to chip away at, your sense of value to yourself, value to others. And when that starts happening, then you're not actually living life to your full potential, right? You are not the best version of yourself. So I think that the bullying falls into the mental health challenges. We also know that suicide is an epidemic as well. Depression, anxiety, rejection, it's all of those things. And those are a result of bullying and discrimination and the sense of not belonging, the sense of feeling isolated, the sense of, living on the margins, in the fringes. And so we live in Canada, and I am so incredibly grateful that we do. Because when we look at other countries on the globe, and I work with an organization called Rainbow Railroad, and what Rainbow Railroad does is they rescue LGBTQ2 plus folks from countries where it's illegal to love who you want to love. It's illegal to express yourself with the clothes you wear and how you cut your hair. You are jailed for that. You are beaten for that. You are murdered for that. And folks in those countries You want to talk about living on the fringes, no access to healthcare, no family, marginalized, fear-stricken. That's serious, serious stuff. And, you know, that's the reality, I believe, in over 100 countries on this planet.
It's definitely just really sad and terrible to hear about the hate that exists. Like everyone on this planet just wants to be loved and belong somewhere. And I think that's definitely the way forward, is to just practice loving people for who they are, no matter what they look like, what they believe in. I really do think that's the way forward. So how do you think like people, non-queer identifying people and youth, can help address these challenges that people in the queer community are facing and create safer environments for where everyone can thrive?
Well, the number one thing is to be an ally, you know, an active ally. And, you know, that means using your privilege for good. You know, it means speaking out to injustices. It means, you know, working in your, actively taking action in your workplace to ensure that, you know, DEIB training is happening, that, you know, your corporation, organization, workplace is actively working on creating and fostering an inclusive space for all. Because when that happens, people thrive and they do their best work and they perform well. You know, that means calling out those microaggressions, calling out, you know, I get misgendered all the time. And I have people that are with me and they'll say, hey, Layne's pronouns are they, them. Listen, it's okay to make a mistake, but you've got to learn from that mistake and then you have to do better, right? So it's also about amplifying 2S LGBTQ2 plus voices, like using your platform and privilege like I am, you know, representing, being on podcasts like this, you know, doing interviews, doing keynotes, and, you know, do the work, educate yourself. There's a whole thing out there called Google. And, you know, my goodness, can you learn a lot? What I say to folks when they say, well, tell me what I should do, tell me where I should go, where do I go for resources? You know what? Look through documentaries, books, articles, have conversations with queer folks, learn about their experience, understand what the reality is for us, and then do the work and be an ally.
Yeah, great advice all around. And I think like the biggest thing you said is like speak up when you hear something homophobic, transphobic, hateful in your family or like in your social circles. I think that's the simplest thing literally anyone can do, is just to say that's not, like, to speak up and say that's hateful, that's not right.
That's right. And it does not have to be done in an aggressive way. And we don't want it happening in an aggressive way. You know, some people might perceive, you know, it's like, you know, hey, don't you do that about Layne. Layne's a good person, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that.
Mhm.
It's just about, listen, take a moment, understand this is not cool, you know? And I think, you know, I think that there will be some individuals that will respond aggressively. And there will be more than you think that will not respond aggressively, that they'll be like, yeah, Michaela, yep, you're right. I made a mistake. And that's where Michaela should say, it's okay to make a mistake. We're human. We all make mistakes. Michaela and Alexa, I make mistakes all the time. But I stop, drop, and roll. I'm like, whoop, I just did it. I am so sorry. I apologize. I just used your incorrect pronouns, and that will not happen again. And it's funny, we just posted on our social media a post a couple of days ago that I have received more DMs, more responses, more high fives than almost any post that we have done. And the post was, "This is your get out of pronoun jail free card." And what it was, and I'm sure you know who Destiny's Child is, because if you don't remember somebody's pronoun, all you got to do is say my name, say my name. That's it.
It's a
I
good one.
have a name. It's Layne.
Yeah.
If you are in a situation where it's like, I don't know what their pronouns are, just say, "Hey, Layne, how's it going?" Layne's standing right over there. Layne is in the bathroom. Layne is just going to the car, not her car, not his car. Layne is going to the car. It's so simple, and it makes such a big difference, right? Say my name, say my name. You're gonna be singing that song all day long, I betcha.
It's stuck in my head now.
Now
right?
it's gonna be stuck in your head. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. But the last question, you already sort of answered it, but it was, what advice could we give to young youth sort of questioning their sexuality or gender identity? And I think one of the biggest things that you said was having those conversations. Because sometimes I think we're enclosed in our own mindsets, in our own worlds. So when we don't have the chance to experience the same experiences that other people go through, it's hard for us to imagine what it's like.
Hmm. Well, there's a few things I think. I know for myself, I am a public figure. I have Instagram and LinkedIn, and I know that people feel safe in contacting me. I've had youth, adults, seniors reach out on a DM and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going through right now. What advice do you have for me?" And many times I'll be like, "Oh, I have more than advice. Let's get on a Zoom. Let's just chat." People are looking for support. They're looking for someone that represents them. So, a lot of non-binary individuals will reach out to me because I am very open and I will share the struggle. Do I have all the answers? No. Everyone's experience is unique. But just to know that there is someone there that's going to put their arm around you and say, "It's okay. It's okay. It's a journey. And this is what I've experienced. What are you experiencing? What are you feeling right now?" So I think, seeking out the support of somebody that you feel represents who you are is a really important thing. And I think most people will find that most people are very kind. And most of us, and I'll speak for myself, but I know many individuals too, of the queer community we're like-minded in that way, that we feel that we are here also to serve and support youth in their journey as well. So, if I wish that when I was 7 years old, looking in the mirror saying, there's something going on here. I wish that there was somewhere to turn at that time, because if there was, I wouldn't have had to wait till I was 40 years old. I can't even imagine what my life could have been and how it could have been if I had been, 12 or 13 or 14 years old and just been able to be myself. That would have been amazing.
Well, now here you are, and you can live in the present and be who you
Yep.
wish. So someone.
That's right. Now it's like, yeah, Layne just does Layne. Layne is always living in the laneway. Let me tell you that.
So on that note, that concludes this episode of DTBY's Ask the Expert podcast. On behalf of everyone at DTBY, thank you, Layne, for taking the time to sit down with us to not only educate our listeners about what they can do to support the queer community, but to also share your personal journey into the person that you've become today. And it's a very wonderful person. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned into this episode. Hopefully you found the insights Layne brought to be helpful. Follow us on social media to stay up to date on when new episodes drop at DTBY Halton at CYC for Change. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Bye.